The events leading to the end of the 2021 season made it one of the most exciting in the history of F1, but this season is going to take things a step further because everything you thought you knew about Formula 1 is about to change. With new rules, new drivers, new teams, and those incredible car launches, there's so much in store for F1 fans around the world. So let's break down the major team, rule, and track changes for 2022. First up, Valtteri Bottas, who had a wonderful spell with Mercedes last season, will find himself racing alongside the first ever Chinese F1 driver and rookie Guan Yu Zhou, who only just graduated from Formula 2. They will drive under the dramatic red and white livery of Alfa Romeo's C42 in 2022. Making a comeback to the grid is former Red Bull driver Alex Albon, who has replaced George Russell at Williams and will drive alongside Nicholas Latifi to push the team further up the rankings with their striking blue livery. Albon is being given a second chance at his F1 career after being a reserve driver for Red Bull and AlphaTauri this past season. His move to Williams has caused another quarrel between Horner and Wolff, as Albon is a Red Bull-backed driver moving to a Mercedes-powered car, which ultimately ended with Toto getting the last laugh, specifying a few clauses in Albon's contract with Williams. As for Albon, he vows to show what he's got and achieve Formula 1 glory as one of the most exciting upcoming drivers alongside Gasly and Lando Norris. Following a series of unfortunate events that have rocked Europe in the past few weeks, Haas Racing have decided to race under an all-white livery after cutting ties with Uralkali, its Russian sponsor, and Russian F1 driver Nikita Mazepin. They've replaced Mazepin with Kevin Magnussen, who will race alongside Mick Schumacher into the new season. Ferrari seem to be early favourites this season, with their performance at the pre-season testing at Barcelona turning heads as they looked like the best team and best adjusted to the new regulations. The team will utilise the service of Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc, the youngest pairing in the grid, aiming to bring Ferrari back into title contention. Lewis Hamilton left the 2021 season disillusioned, according to his boss Toto Wolff, and this raised speculations that he wouldn't continue with the team in 2022. The driver himself confirmed that he considered not racing after the incident because he'd lost a lot of faith in the FIA's policies. But after going dark in the off-season, the driver is ready to race yet again, alongside a new teammate in the young Brit George Russell, who came over from Williams. Both drivers will grace the classic silver livery of Mercedes, and their engineers are back to pushing the limits of the new regulations. Red Bull, on the other hand, have already renewed their contract with Verstappen to drive for the team until 2028 with a whopping $53.3 million deal. And he will still be teamed up this season with Sergio Perez, who is enjoying himself at Red Bull and is also hinting that he would like to have a longer term deal with the team. Others that have stuck with their lineups from last season are Alpine, Aston Martin, AlphaTauri, and McLaren, who had not made any changes to their drivers and are all concentrating on bettering the cars that they provide for them. On to the tracks and timeline, but first, if you found that team breakdown useful, drop a comment below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to DRS Zone. The 2021 season saw the introduction of the fastest F1 circuit in Saudi Arabia, and 2022 looks even more exciting. The new season was initially scheduled to hold 23 races, but this was cut down to 22 after the omission of the Russian Grand Prix. The first race will begin with the dauntless Sakhir circuit on the 20th of March, and the Saudi Arabia GP at the fastest F1 track in Jeddah will follow a week later. April will see the drivers shifting between Melbourne and the Freiting Imola track, and in May, fans will be treated to a spectacle in Miami, Barcelona, and Monaco. Miami in early May is the exciting new addition, a track on the site of the Hard Rock Stadium with a 5.41 km long track with 19 corners for some intense jockeying, and the season will make its return to Australia, Canada, Singapore and Japan for the first time in 3 years. The British Grand Prix will be on the first weekend of July with a mid-November conclusion in Abu Dhabi. Brazil, Mexico and the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Canada, France and Hungary will also host races in 2022. Formula 1 next generation cars were delayed from 2020 to 2022, and at this point, I think it's fair to say that we're all happy to move on from the circus that has been Red Bull and Mercedes have pulled over the last few years, leaving all the other teams in the dust. In 2022, the teams will all have a chance at the title, and that is well reflected in their cars. While Mercedes and Red Bull seem to have the new regulations under control, Mercedes only recently revealed an upgrade which has put the F1 world to chatting. Red Bull's Christian Horner believes Mercedes' innovation is questionable, and he said even, "For some of us, these parts seem illegal." The new technical rules, in fact, have created a chance for close quarters racing and have found a way to manage the dirty air that limits drivers' ability to overtake. While many teams have been constantly designing and reading car charts at preseason testing, Mercedes' new W13 brakes cover a new feature of minimalistic side pods and fins on the side of the car. Martin Brundle himself has described that as looking like a bar of chocolate left out in the sun and to be melted. Ted Kravitz also added, "This has captured the attention of everybody in F1 this morning. If Barcelona was just the starter, this Mercedes is the main course. This is essentially a new car for the 8-time world champions." The 2022 Formula 1 regulations are the first time the rules have specifically limited what teams can put on their cars regarding the number of aerodynamic devices. In previous years, teams were restricted in dimensions, frontal area, or a certain amount of arc, but they weren't defined with the number of devices they could have. But for 2022, the FIA defines a specific flow field and wake pattern that they want the cars to have, and they intend to prevent the teams from developing parts from outside of that. The FIA has tried to do the same thing in the past, and teams come up with outwash devices, and they were fully bending the rules. Now, teams cannot add anything other than what the technical rulebook explicitly demands, and due to this, the differences between the cars moving forward will be much more subtle. The simplification of the rules will force teams to be more efficient when designing elements and ask for more from their engineering, rather than just adding as many features as possible to boost performance. Included in the new car design is the switch from 13 to 18-inch wheels. The tyres have also grown from 660mm to 720. Pirelli held 28 days of testing for the new, larger tyres in 2021 using mule cars from 9 out of the 10 teams. The head of Pirelli's F1 team said, "In a busy season with all the constraints and 22 races, I believe a big achievement was developing these new tyres. Because this tyre is designed in a different way, with different targets, our drivers are asking for less overheating, less degradation, they want to push on tyres, they want to fight on the track, and clearly we decided and we agreed with the FIA and the FOM and the teams to follow this direction. So we had to design a new profile, new construction, optimize the footprint, and design a new range of compounds. It's a completely new product with a new approach, and I believe it will be quite useful for the activities of the company outside of F1. On the driver's part, Max Verstappen believes that the tyres pose a challenge where he found it difficult to get a good view from the cockpit. He could be found saying, "To hit an apex in some tight corners is a little bit difficult. The driver just feels like the car has less grip, but you'll get used to that." That's why we have these practice days where you can get used to the sliding and locking and stuff like that. I think it should be fine, it's just getting a bit more used to the view in the cockpit that's a challenge. The preseason testing has placed emphasis on the performance of a number of drivers, including Lewis Hamilton, who leads the others, and George Russell following closely up. While every team had a setback at various points across the 3 days of testing, some teams were able to fare better than others, and Ferrari were the only to surpass the 400 lap marker for the week. Hamilton and Mercedes topped the timesheet, but lost the overall lap count to Ferrari's Carlos Sainz, who completed a record number of 236 laps. Daniel Ricciardo of McLaren comes after Sainz with 212, followed by George Russell with 209 laps, and 3 laps behind him, Max Verstappen. All teams are ready to go at it this year, but the most notorious team to look out for is definitely Ferrari. McLaren and Mercedes drivers were quick to give the team their praise for the success at Barcelona, saying that they think the team were well adapted to the new regulations. Mercedes, who have been bold in their understanding of the new regulations, are being challenged by Red Bull and the other teams, who believe they may be stepping outside the realms of legality with some of the new designs. Max Verstappen has stayed out of the limelight and controversy and is focusing only on proving the doubters wrong. Since the slate is now clean, there is absolutely no saying who will emerge as the champion of the 2022 season, and this makes it much more exciting for us as fans. Comment below who you think will win the 2022 season, and subscribe to DRS Zone.